Welcome to the Josh Hall Web Design Show. Helping you build better websites and create a web design business that gives you freedom and a lifestyle you love.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 21. Got a different type of episode for you in this one. We're going to be chatting with somebody who went from being a freelance web designer to becoming literally a bona fide YouTube star. And for those of you who have been in my audience for a while, you probably know this dude needs no introduction. Mr. Darrel Wilson. For those of you who might be new to Divi, new to WordPress, or new to web design, and you're maybe not sure who he is, he started a YouTube channel several years back, and he started posting tutorials on things he learned and used in his business around WordPress and some of the tools he used. And a handful of years later, his channel is now at 167,000 subscribers and over 17 million views. So he has become a bona fide YouTube celebrity, a YouTube star, at least in the WordPress and web design world, and he does it full time. And this episode was fascinating because we get to hear the ins and outs of his experience with going from freelance web design to transitioning to doing videos and YouTube full time. Darrel was very transparent and real with his experience. We talk about a lot of the highs and lows, just with managing the different types of endeavors and really making that plunge to do something that sounds a little risky and making it full time. And I will say too, if you're looking at this episode and you're thinking, this one might not be for me because they're talking about YouTube or video, I highly encourage you to listen to this one all the way through because we have a very wide-ranging, super impactful talk. A lot of this stuff, while we do talk about video and YouTube specific things, we also talk about just good business principles. And, you know, Darrel has a very successful YouTube channel, and monetarily, one thing we talk about is how he actually handled that success and when things really turned the corner for him. I give some of my insight on what I've learned too when you start becoming successful and how to handle that. So really, really beneficial conversation. I know it's going to help you out in a lot of ways, no matter where you're at in your business. And again, Darrel was really great, really transparent, and really opened up about his experience, which was just fascinating through and through. So really excited for you to hear this conversation. Now, before we dive into this one, this episode is presented by my upcoming website design course. If you're hearing this podcast right when it releases, my website design course is currently available for pre-order, so you can pre-order it today. And this course is going to focus on the design aspect of web design. So I'm going to teach you how to develop an eye for design. I'm going to show you how to create website designs that are not only pretty and beautiful, but that actually convert. We're going to look at things that have worked for me and all my clients that are going to help you. And you're just going to learn how to earn more with your website designs because you're going to become more valuable. So that's what this course is all about. Again, currently, while this launches, this is available for pre-order. But even if the course is live, you're going to be able to join. If you're seeing this podcast after the course is live, it will be available to you to join. And I would love to help you level up, develop an eye for design, and make beautiful converting websites through my website design course. All right, guys, without further ado, enjoy my very in-depth, super fun, and fascinating chat with the Mr. YouTube celebrity man himself, Darrel Wilson. Darrel Wilson, welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you on finally.
Thanks. I'm good to be here. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I feel like we've been trying to do this for literally months. I told you about my podcast, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 months before I launched it, I let you know that, hey, I'm going to launch a podcast and I want to get you on. And we had a bunch of scheduling issues with, you're in a completely different time zone. And then the day that we were supposed to record originally, my second daughter was born. So I had to let you know I couldn't do that. And then we just rescheduled and you got food poisoning, but by golly, we finally got together. So awesome to have you on, man. I'm excited to talk about your journey and talk about YouTube.
Yeah, man, it's great. You're right though. It's been a journey just to get this meeting because I've been so occupied. Like I live in another country now, so it's a whole new thing for me. And every time we try to plan something, I was looking for a new office. And then the last time we finally got it settled out, I think I just had like noodles and chicken, and then like within an hour, like I was sweating and I was like, oh no, what was that? What did I eat?
Yeah, because I think it was just a few hours before we were supposed to go to do our call that you were like, bro,
yeah,
got some food poisoning, man. Sorry.
It was bad. I had the cold chills, the fever, and I was like, maybe I can just take an Advil, go on camera. I'm like, you know what? I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah,
So,
no, always better to wait till you're feeling better, man. So we'll make this a good one. Yeah, and so I mean, I think most of my audience knows who you are, or at least they've seen you on YouTube if they're Googling any sort of tutorials for Divi or WordPress or some of the other tools that you recommend. For folks who are maybe new to Divi or new to WordPress and maybe who don't know you, why don't you just tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do exactly?
so basically, I'm a full-time YouTuber, and I teach basically all about WordPress themes, WordPress plugins. I get into some digital marketing here and there, but overall, I'm just a WordPress instructor. And it's very funny. I got into WordPress because I first got into WordPress because I was actually using WordPress to make hiking blogs. I want to say back in 2015, and I was using one theme and I didn't like it, so I went on YouTube and I was like, maybe someone else is doing a blog, and I followed some videos. And I'll just be straight honest, I thought these videos were terrible. And I'm like, you know what? This theme, that everything they're doing here, I think I'm doing a little better. But I mean, I got some ideas and insight from other creators, but I just felt at the time, way back then, I mean, these guys were boring. They were just like, today I'm going to make a website. They had no personality, and they're using very dated themes. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try to show people how to, make a website, because I originally was trying to make a hiking blog. And the first time I used a theme, it was called the Freak theme. And it's a free theme, and I think it's still available on WordPress.org. I think it is still available. It's a free one, and it's not the best. It's really not. But sure enough, man, I just started doing videos, and I got no views. I got nothing for like 3-5 months, but I was just determined. I was like, man, I know my content has some value here. I know I'm not just, I know it wasn't bad content. It was just a matter of, will it get seen or not? Will it get traction in the algorithm? And within, I want to say December 2015, I know all the dates, is when I published a video that actually I woke up with like 200 views. And I was like, oh God, I have 200 views. And I had all these comments, and people were like, hey, like, does this still work? And I was like, yes. And I was responding to comments. I was super excited. And sure enough, I mean, I started doing it slowly by slowly until I was at a point where I had to kind of think, maybe this is a possibility of being a YouTuber. Like, no one thinks like that. I didn't either. And I was working a good job. I was working in the Pomona courthouse. I was working in child's court, handling what is it? Child separation and divorce.
Oh,
the most
my
depressing
gosh.
court you'll ever go to.
No doubt.
So, yeah. I was working there, and I was debating quitting, because I was making like, I was at the point I was making like $500 to $1,000 a month, and every month it was growing. And I'm just like, no, I can't quit. And after 3 months of it keep going up every single month, and me putting videos out, I took the risk. I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna quit my job, and I did that, and I've been making WordPress tutorials ever since early 2016. So
16, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I was actually kind of curious. It's one question I wanted to ask you was, did you set out to say, I'm going to be a YouTuber, or did you just kind of, fall into it? It sounds like it was the latter. I've actually found that to be very true for most all web design journeys. I have not talked to one person on the podcast yet that was like, I'm going to start a business, and it was all just, they kind of fell into it, or maybe they were like you were doing, trying a WordPress website on the side, and then either making that into a business, or in your case, realizing that, there's not that many great teachers out there. And I think that's an important point that you hit on that I don't want to overlook, which is to be you on camera and to be you when you're doing videos. I think that's huge. And I took that same approach. Like, you and I are very similar with the content we put out on YouTube with teachings and trainings, but our personalities are different. But that's what makes it so cool. Like, you are you, and I'm myself, and it works great for all of our audiences. And a lot of my audience watch your videos, and a lot of your audience watch my videos as well, particularly in the Divi stuff. So I think that's awesome, man. I think that's great that you kind of, you recognize that you had a skill set, and you took advantage of it and saw where it went. Now, were you building websites at that time, like freelance, or doing anything like that? Because was your courthouse like your day job, and then you're doing websites on the side, or what did that look like before YouTube really took off?
When I decided to when I was when I was kind of doing the hiking vlogs, I was already making websites for people already because I was making it for myself, but at the same time I was doing other freelance work. And back when I decided to actually quit my job, that's when I kind of like took web design very serious because I couldn't just rely on YouTube at the time. You know, I'm like, you know what? I can't rely on this 100%. So I started just applying for other companies saying, hey, do you guys need a web designer, etc.
Mm,
I did the basic thing everyone does. I was doing cold calling, going to businesses, business cards, going to commerce meetings, trying to find out if I can get clients. And it was just a lot of trial and error. And I did the typical thing everyone else does. I was just trying to offer the cheapest price possible. And whatever they said they wanted, I said, I can do it. And I
oh,
couldn't.
okay.
I couldn't do what they wanted, to the point where I made a lot of mistakes, and that's just part of the journey of web design, really, because when you're in web design, you never know what to expect, especially from clients. And just over I'd say 2016, 2017, and I want to say 2018 is when I finally just said no more. I think I'm good now. But over those 2.5, 3 years, I've went through clients that wanted a therapist. I've been through clients that wanted just a friend to talk to. And I learned that in web design, web design is probably 30% of the job. It's a lot is just dealing with clients that just want to talk to you, or they have something to say. And it was just always interesting. But yeah, it was definitely a learning process. But over the year or two, I learned more of a formula. I learned who to take, who not to take, how to present myself way better, and how to kind of present proposals way better and charge, $3,000 to $5,000 a project instead of promising everyone everything for $1,000.
Right.
And then I'm
Yeah.
sitting there working like, months over a project for $1,000. And I'm like, what am I doing, dude? Like, I messed up,
Yeah. Every web designer, yeah, I think every web designer goes through that and experiences it until you get to that point where you turn a corner and you realize how to be more profitable. And that's kind of what this whole podcast and what my whole endeavor is about, is to help people in that situation, particularly just getting started, to avoid a lot of that. Because there are some tricks to avoid some of that. But inevitably, you're exactly right. Web design is a customer service business. And I would actually say it's probably like 75% customer service, because in the way of like talking with clients, getting content, project management, revisions, feedback, all that stuff. Now, the cool thing is when you're a little more selective and when you onboard people you actually want to work with, life is pretty awesome. And it took me about 3 or 4 years to get to that point where I finally started realizing I'm not going to take on every project, because I found myself in your situation too. I'm working like the 80-20 rule, where it's like 80% of your business is coming from 20% of your good clients. And then the rest of it is you're just working with people that are just not worth the time, or projects that are not worth the time. And I found that to be completely true. But yeah, it's interesting because it seems like everyone has that story, and everyone has that pathway. For me though, what I'm curious about and what's interesting is that you discovered YouTube to kind of give you some other income along with that. With that web design business, Darryl, was that under your name, or did you have what did you do? How did you stop that business? Like, did you just tell clients you weren't taking on work anymore? Do you just refer inquiries out, or what was that transition like, going from freelancer web designer to YouTuber?
I would say the last 3 months, I was giving a lot of my projects to two of my friends, and they actually learned WordPress watching my video.
Nice.
So I was starting to give them projects, especially the nightmare clients, because I would try to nitpick and I would just say it's going to cost $5,000, and then that's it. And if they were to write back to me, I would say, okay, they're worth my time. But people who would write back and saying, oh, can you do 1,000? I would just say, hey, bro, I got a client for you. I'd give it to someone else and let them deal with that, because I said, I don't want to deal with this. Looks like a lot of headache. If you really need the money, man, there's someone there. But the last 3 months, I basically was referring all of my clients and kind of, again, nitpicking. After that, I started what was it, an S corp or an LLC? I started one of them. I think it was an S corp under a Wilsonator, and that was officially YouTube money. All the revenue coming from affiliate programs from other companies, with WordPress companies. That was all going into a Wilsonator, so it was a completely separate business. the other business, the web design business, it was just it was called Paddywhack or something like that. It was my dog, but no one sees that on paper. They just, they're just like, oh, I know web designer Darrell Wilson, but my legal name back then was, I think it was Paddywhack or something like that.
Okay.
And I've been doing that, like I said, just ever since, just being an affiliate, And
now, do you get inquiries for freelance web design now, or do you just pass them all off? Because I mean, you got a full-time job with YouTube now.
Yeah, no, I still get them. I get them quite often, but I feel bad because a lot of these people ask me for something, and I can probably help them. I can probably do it for them, but my time now is so dedicated to YouTube that if I wanted to help them, I couldn't give them the right quality of time to help them out. So even if they paid me, $2,000-$3,000, I'm going to say, it's just not worth my time because I'm going to spend weeks going back and forth. And for $2,000, it's just not worth it for me at this point. And I tried to refer people to to my other friends, even in 2019, but a lot of them wanted just to talk to Darrell Wilson. And I'm like, well, then I can't help you out. So, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I get them here and there, but I don't do any more work whatsoever. So.
Gotcha. That's interesting because I've in a similar boat. Like I still am much more active in my web design business as the head honcho and creative director, as my my email signature says. But yeah, like I told you before we went live, I don't do any more of the design anymore. I oversee it, and I'm kind of scaling that up. And I intentionally want to keep some aspect of that business, like stay in some of those roles, just to have a good pulse of what we're doing for our clients. And as you know, I'm really big on the client side of things in the business side of things. But yeah, I found that I got to that same point where I was like, you know what, my joshhall.co stuff has taken off now that my courses are becoming such a big part of my life. And I would personally love to do more on YouTube. I just don't have the time right now to dedicate. But I want to do more of that. So yeah, I'm kind of in that place right now where I'm right in the thick of it, where I'm transitioning from doing client service to more of my courses and training, and then eventually more coaching and things like that.
I think you should, because there's no one right now doing like Divi, like very good Divi tutorials. Like I'm talking about like, getting deep in the nitty gritty, like fixes, like how to fix the header when it has this problem, or how to design this with Divi. There's Mac, but Mac provides more. I mean, there's Elegant Themes, and then there's Mac as well. And Elegant Themes they actually provide some good videos. I wish they would actually go more in the mobile responsive era, because when I watch their videos, they're just talking about PC. But then again, that's just what they do. Mac provides good videos too, but I think there should be someone else that can provide something like how to do this with Divi, how to make a custom child theme with Divi, how to do this with Divi, because I want to do that, but I'm just so overwhelmed with so many topics.
There's so much, yeah.
Flotsam, Elementor, Divi, so it's like,
Well, it's a good point, man. I think actually one reason that my brand elevated pretty quickly in the Divi community and I became authority is because my tutorials, because I do have dozens of tutorials, they're all based off of real things that I actually did on real client websites that are in the real world. So the only issue that I find with not just Elegant Themes per se, but a lot of bigger companies that provide WordPress themes is a lot of their stuff is based on theory, which is great, but there's something that's real powerful on like a trick that I actually did on a client website that is actually making that client money. Like there's a lot of, that gives it a sense of legitimacy when they're doing that type of thing. So yeah, that's really kind of how I built my YouTube channel, which is not anything compared to yours, which I know we're going to talk about. But I mean, I'm over 1 million views now and I have almost 15,000 subscribers. Most of them are Divi users because my channel was mostly Divi tutorials. Yeah. And then now that I'm doing more posting the podcast and doing business side of things, we're getting a lot of the people who essentially my audience is two people. It's people who are just starting out, who want to learn how to build websites with WordPress and Divi. And then it's people who want to either start or grow their freelance web design business. So that's kind of who I'm catering all my content towards. But to your point, I think there's so much power. And going back to like when you started, you recognized that there was a need for, you felt like I could do a better tutorial than this dude or this gal. And I felt that same way. I saw some tutorials where I was like, this is pretty good. I didn't see yours yet, but I saw some
my tutorials. That's what I'm thinking, huh?
I saw this Darrell Wilson guy who was just, crap. No, but I did. Like, I just, I was like, I think as I mentioned before we went live too, I I was essentially doing what I do now for free in my local community. I was teaching high schoolers who really didn't even, there's a couple who were interested, but a lot of those kids just wanted to do video game design. They had no real want to start a business or to do a web design. And I was like, wow, there's really a market here to kind of share what I've learned. And I've been doing it for a decade now. So I've learned so much valid things that I'm like, what a shame for me just to not share everything that I've learned. So I think that's huge. And it sounds like that's the approach that you take with your YouTube channel, right? I mean, you learned a lot in your experience. And then even now that, you know, you're dealing with different tools as far as like Elementor, and different builders as well as Divi and other stuff. But it sounds like you've really kind of taken everything you've learned and you're trying to give it back in a way, right?
Yeah, and on top of that, it's also kind of maintaining, because there's always new things that come out. Like I know I know this is a Divi podcast, but the Brizzy page builder will be introducing a theme builder soon. They announced that, so I'll have to kind of research that. You know, Elementor has updates. I don't get too big on Elementor per se. I just make tutorials whenever I just update my tutorials on Elementor, but I'm not really big on Elementor. If there's something that they introduce or that's worth talking about, or a new plugin, you know, I'll always talk about it. Same with Divi, you know, I'll always talk about, you know, the theme builder tutorial. I spent, you know, when the Divi theme builder first came out, I studied it for about, I want to say a day, like a good 12 hours, because I saw other channels just pushing out videos as fast as they could. And everyone's like, bro, you're just talking about it. Like, how do we use it? And I didn't want to do that. So I kind of saw other channels and I'm like, you know what? No. I got to focus on quality, because if I just push this out and I'm not sure what I'm doing, people are going to know. So I really studied the builder. And then I gave like 4 examples. Like you might've seen, I gave like 4 or 5 examples of each situation to use it in. Because I think the main thing is, when I make these videos, I always say to myself, I don't want people to watch these videos and walk away with questions. Like, I want everything covered, because that was my struggle. You know, when I'd watch these videos, like, oh yeah, just go ahead and download this and then upload the template, and okay, you got hosting, you got Divi. All right, see you later. You know, it's like, well,
it's like
how do you use it? You know, and
yeah, there's a lot of quick grab out there where they just want to show something off. They want to capture an email address and then leave you. Where it's like, yeah, to your point, if you really take your time and you actually teach more than anything, if you teach more than just show off, that's where there's a lot of power. And I think that's what your channel does, and that's what my channel does, and some other creators who are literally, we're just teachers. We're not just quick grabbers or show offers, or however you want to put it. And I think that's a very valid point. I like that you did that too, because yeah, when the theme builder came out, I saw a ton of videos come out, and I was kind of tempted. I was like, should I do a quick video? But I was like, you know what? Same boat. Like, I'm not in that place right now where I can even, like, at that time, my daughter was just born. So I'm like, I'm not going to take time away from that to learn the build. Like, I just kind of let it go. Like, I haven't done anything with the theme builder yet, just because I've played around with it. But to your point, like, I'm not just going to do a half-assed tutorial just to get a few more likes or subscribers. I want to do something that's going to be worthwhile. So I like that you took that approach, that you didn't rush one out just to be the first one to get a tutorial out.
I know, everyone wanted to do that, and people did that, and they got the same response that I saw in the comments. They're like, yeah, bro, you just want to push this out as fast as you could because you want people to get the views. And it's like, I didn't want to be that person, you know, because you know, it's just not my style. But
it's also the difference between the short game mentality and the long game mentality. It's much better to do a really good in-depth video that teaches people and really empowers them, rather than just do a quick video that just shows it off and there's really no good value. And that goes back to that.
Speaking of short and long term, before I forget, is that I actually create videos also based off the short and long term. Like, for example, I'll push a video out for WordFence. I just push out a video for WordFence and Side of Revolution. And the thing is with those videos is that my current viewers aren't really interested in those videos. So the view count's very low. But it will grow faster than a lot of other videos. Like, if I talk about, the news with Elementor, the news with Divi, that video will probably get like 5,000 to 10,000 views within a month. But after that, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
But that WordFence video, it's going to keep going slowly because people are actively typing that in on the search engines. So
that's a good point. And I've seen the same thing, man. Yeah, there really is a difference between like topical videos that are more news-based or more like an update, something like that, versus a video that's more evergreen to where it's like this could last for a while. Say like I have a video on how to manually migrate a WordPress website, and that is a prime example of something that's evergreen. Like even when cPanels look different, it doesn't matter. The core message and the core instructions of that video are the same. So that's like one of my most popular videos now. It's definitely the one that I get the most engagement on. But it's vastly different than I did one video where Divi made an update and it changed where the full width button was. So I did a quick video on that to show where the new version of that was. But that's already outdated now. So like I'm finding that same thing that you probably run into where some videos have to be updated and some have to be tweaked and kept up with. Whereas other stuff, I love the evergreen content. I love the stuff that can just last. A quick practical question on that. Do you delete videos if they're outdated, or you just do a new thumbnail that says like, hey, new video, link below? What do you do in that case?
I delete some I delete. If I find that if people click on it and they're going to get upset more than they are, if they're going to click on it and get upset, I'll click on it or I'll delete it. If they click on it and they're like, this video was somewhat helpful, but it's outdated, I'll leave it up. Because it's still content that I can attract people. And then maybe they'll say, well, this video's older, but does he have any new videos? And then they'll go check out those new videos,
Now, do you delete, like when you delete a YouTube video, do you know if it counts against your views, or would YouTube keep, like if you had a video that had 100,000 views and you delete it, does it knock off those views? Do you know, or do you just?
No,
okay.
Because you're getting paid off the advertiser view of that video. So those videos with 100,000 views have already made the money. They don't make more money. They're not making more money because they have the views. The advertisers already advertised on that video. So that's it. The deal is done. So if it has 1 million views and you delete it, doesn't matter. Okay. You won't lose money. Yeah.
So what I started doing is on some of the ones that I need to update is I just change the thumbnail to say revised tutorial link below. And then I just link to the new tutorial. And a lot of times, a few videos, I've just made them unlisted. So they're still there, but people aren't going to find them if they're searching. I haven't actually deleted one, but that's an interesting approach. Although some of those videos are linked in blog posts, so I actually don't want to delete it. I'll probably just keep it unlisted. That way, if somebody goes to it, they can at least see the revised link. Or the link to the revised tutorial.
No, it's good. I feel that YouTube is the #1 source, better than Google, because in this industry, people want a video of how to do something.
Yep.
I've seen blogs like on WP Beginner, how to make a blog, and it's like, sign up for Bluehost, install Elementor. Okay, you're done. It's like, what? Like, it's like, how is this valuable content? This is like not helping anybody,
Yeah, and it's one reason I wanted to do what I've done so far, which is very low ads. I mean, I make it clear that I have affiliate sales with certain links, and obviously for me, my goal is to get everyone into my courses. That's kind of that's how I'm actually paying bills and being able to have the time to do this. But like I'm very low. I'm not an ad pusher, or I don't load up my sidebar with ads and stuff. And even your website, like you have ads on your site, but it's very, very, it's very nicely done. Like it's very, I was going to say gentleman-like, but you're not pushy with your ads. Like in the footer, you say, here are some discounts to where people can get discounts on hosting and Divi and all this other stuff. And your ads are placed very, it's just not over the top or overbearing, which I think is really great. And I think it's the approach that's helped your business flourish. Obviously, it's working, and it's helped me too. Now, question, this is actually a good time to segue into some YouTube specific stuff. Now, a lot of my audience aren't going to be doing what we're doing as far as YouTube channels that are dedicated towards them. But there is a lot of power in having YouTube for even tutorials for clients and things like that, and ways to get found online, which is huge. I'm actually curious, how do you make money on YouTube? Like, what was the biggest thing for you where it was like, okay, I'm actually starting to make money? What was it? The affiliate links you're talking? I don't do advertisements on YouTube. I'm not even really sure how to go about that. So to my knowledge, I'm not making any money with views. It's just affiliate sales and courses for me. So what did that look like for you? Like, how did you turn the corner and really start making money with YouTube?
I think the first thing was, back in the day, back in like 2016, I was promoting HostGator, and I think you saw one of my recent videos about how they owe me like $60,000 or $70,000 because they just reversed that many commissions, But the YouTube revenue at first was just around like $200 a month. It was nothing, I got maybe 1 or 2 sales here and there, and over the course, I found that the biggest commission is the web hosting. So the reason why a lot of people talk about in my niche, they don't like talking about Divi, is because people have to pay for Divi, and they would rather take the commission from the web hosting than get the sale for Divi. So they're going to say, "I'll show you how to make this for free. Just get the hosting. We'll install a free builder, free." And that's their method. Myself, I didn't want to do that, so I started promoting Divi a lot, and that's where I started making a lot of money from affiliate commissions from Divi back then. And every month I was making around like $500 from Divi back way in the day. And just over time it grew. I would say the biggest commissions I get, or the way I make money the most, is definitely the web hosting. The web hosting is by far the highest. Second, it's probably going to have to be Divi, actually. I think Divi is second place to all of my other affiliate programs as far as like page builders, themes, plugins goes, etc. Divi just kind of just wipes everyone off the map. I don't know why. I just it's
Well,
a
they're
very good
close.
affiliate program.
Yeah, they're also closing in on 700,000 customers, which is insane. I mean, they're going to be at I think they'll probably be at 1 million by the end of 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and one thing to consider too, it's interesting because I get some affiliate sales from Divi. It's not as much though, but I realize it's because I don't have any videos that, at least, I mean, I have in my courses, but I don't have any videos on YouTube that are like a beginner start to finish Divi tutorial. They're like topical things. So people already have Divi when they generally find me. They may find some of my videos and purchase Divi, but more than likely they bought Divi. They're playing around with it. Then they're like, crap, I need help. Or they look on YouTube and that's when they find my tutorials. And so they've already, like, I guess I'm saying the reason I don't get as many affiliate sales right now is because people have already purchased Divi. But my goal is to do more of the things to get them in the door with Divi. But again, just goes back to the time right now. I'm running my business. I got 2 baby girls, and I'm really putting my heart and soul in my courses and the business side of things. So yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think the way I make money off of YouTube is a little more indirect, to where yours is a little more direct with affiliate sales and link clicks and things like that.
yeah,
How about the advertising stuff? Are you getting paid for views? How does that work?
yeah. So the views is actually very. I've learned it. I've learned it from just deep studying and also talking not to other YouTubers, just blogs and other things. YouTube will pay you based off who's watching your video and also what country they're watching it from. So that's how YouTube pays you. So for example, we're actually in a very high paying industry because we're in the tech sector. So YouTube considers those viewers as valuable because they're watching tech stuff, they're ready to spend money, and they're ready to buy something, whether is you'll see people that are watching prank videos, like, someone's pranking someone at the park. Those people that are watching those videos, YouTube pays those creators a lot less because they realize those people watching those videos, they're not going to spend any money, so they
Good
make
point.
like a 1 cent per view or something like that. Whether it's someone like myself, I'll get like 5 to 10 cents per view or something. So every month I would probably generate anywhere between $4,000 to $10,000. It kind of fluctuates a month from ads, and I only have around 500,000 views a month. And I've seen other YouTubers and they've showed their income, and they'll get like 2 million views. I'm only getting 500,000, yet they're making the same amount as me.
Gotcha. So yours is more profitable because it's good content that actual people are buying, or it's more commerce related. Yeah.
Yes, the audience. So my audience is considered more valuable because advertisers are willing to pay more money, like Wix. Wix is what it is willing to pay more money, right? So, it's who's advertising on your channel and what they're willing to pay.
I feel like I should know this, but I really don't know too much about YouTube. So I'm going to use this segment as a purely selfish way to figure out how to monetize my channel more. Like, do you have to sign up for some sort of advertising, or do you allow certain advertisers to post on your channel? Because I'm not being paid I've never been paid a cent from YouTube. My question is, how do I change that, Darryl? Teach me the ways. I will be your Padawan. How would I go about those first steps because I've got over 1 million views. I've got 15,000 subscribers. Once I get to the point where I can really dedicate more to YouTube, I definitely want to take a better approach to help that compensate my time for it. What's the beginning steps with that?
All you have to do is apply for AdSense. Google AdSense.
Okay.
Literally, you have to click a few buttons, and you can actually do it through your YouTube channel, and it just says how do you like I want to select monetization. You apply for YouTube AdSense, and AdSense is the same people that pays you for blogs. So when you watch advertisements on blogs
Mm-hmm.
and there's ads, that's AdSense. So YouTube and those follow the same exact policy. So you should have applied a while ago, and you probably could have got paid for a lot of those views already. Like,
Dang
sounds
it.
like you just didn't know where to go.
I
I
honestly
think you need
didn't,
like
man.
1,000 subs. That's it. Like, you
Oh,
overqualify.
yeah. I totally didn't. And honestly, it goes back to that thing where I just kind of stumbled into it. Like I had no intention of YouTube being a monetary thing. It was actually more or less just teaching my audience. And it still is. Again, thankfully I have courses that I'm doing really well with right now, which is awesome. And YouTube has been primarily the bridge that has brought people in. People find a tutorial, they like it, they learn something, they take the next step, they go to my site, then they're like, oh shoot, Josh has a beginner's course, I'll try that out. And then they're like, man, that course was awesome. He's got a whole course on the process of web design. Go through that. And they're like, crap, I'm ready to start my business. And they go through my business course. So that's kind of how it's worked out for me. But yeah, like I've obviously, left a huge gap with not, really taking advantage of that. So so sign up for AdSense. And then I guess maybe I'll message you with any other questions, but it sounds like it's pretty easy to go.
Yeah, it's funny. You don't talk to anybody. They'll review your accounts, and then once you're eligible for monetization, they monetize it, and then you'll just start seeing more money being added to your AdSense account, and then you put it in your bank, and they just transfer it to your bank directly. And there's no PayPal, none of that stuff. So it's just strictly from your bank, and you never even talk to anyone from Google. It's all automated. Like you literally don't talk to anybody.
Wow.
If you reach I think it's like 20,000 subs or something like that, you have access to their like a live chat to their help desk or something like that. But to be honest, it's useless.
Okay.
Like they're just reading from a script, and they're not really even like yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah. So obviously I'm overqualified now, which is great. But yeah, I definitely wish I would have pulled the trigger on that sooner. But again, there's so many things going on that it's one of those things where it's like, it's so simple. And I found that just with education in general, when it comes to website stuff, it's like, wow, this was so simple. Why didn't I do this? But when you're managing your business, I'm growing a family, there's all these other things. It's honestly just something I didn't really think about, or I should have thought about. So appreciate the insight on that. That's good to know for anyone who does want to start a YouTube channel, whatever it is, if it's for web design or if it's for a different niche. That's huge. So good to know. So that's how that kind of worked out for you. Now, practically, I want to go back, if you don't mind, when you went full time with YouTube, were you making did you wait until you were making enough to where it was like, okay, I think I can cover my bills at least? Or were you making enough to where it would have just been stupid for you not to go full time YouTube? Like, when did you what helped you make that leap?
I think it was like when I hit around like $1,500 to $2,000, and I just saw every month it going up. I mean, every single week it was going up actually. And I got people that are asking, because I felt that, look, I can stay at this job and make the same amount of money for the next year, or I can go on YouTube, pump out tutorials, get really engaged and make more money every single day, So after kind of seeing the growth of YouTube and comparing it to my job, I realized, this is a good job, but I think I can always come back to it later.
Yeah.
It's not going to go anywhere. But if I pass up on YouTube right now, and people, if I get my chance to be a one-hit wonder or whatever, let's take it. But I just didn't know what to expect. So when I jumped into it, I was just getting more views, more everything. And after a while, I was just like, okay, I think we're going to do YouTube here. And I remember I think I was talking to my sister, and they were just like, you quit for YouTube? You want to be a YouTuber? Just totally making fun of me. And I was just like, you won't get it. Like, no, like in my logic, it's like, they're the enemy. It's like, no, get away. Like, no one understands. I'm going to do this. And I was so dedicated. But I've always been like that as a person, like extremely dedicated and kind of selfish in a way. I was just like, nah, man, I don't want to go out to the parties. I don't want to do this. I'm going to get this done if it's the last thing I do, So
yeah.
that was the
I
attitude
feel
I
the
had.
same way. And it's hard, even just web designers in general. Sometimes it's hard to explain exactly what we do. Like my neighbors, they have some teenagers, and they kind of, like, I've told them I own a web design business and I do YouTube and social media and stuff. And they're like, I'm sure they think that we just kind of hang, like we work from home. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. They're probably just thinking like we're just a blogger or a vlogger or something like that, where we just kind of show
everyone
off
thinks
our
the same of
day.
me too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're a YouTuber, so you just have your phone out and you just talk about what you do. But no, it's like we're technically an online teacher. We're an online educator. So YouTuber is like the portal. It's like the vehicle that we use. But at the heart of it, you're a teacher. You are an educator. And it's when I tell that to people, like I'm an educator or a teacher now, they're like, oh, so they must, you like teach at a college or a high school. I'm like, well, no, I have like an online channel. And then it's like, oh, that's cute. Like they have no idea what's really going on behind the scenes. So I feel you, man. Know. You're not alone there.
It's kind of actually hard to tell people like what I do. Cause at first, I was in the dating scene for a while, and I would just tell girls that I just did web design.
You do videos. Did you just tell them you do videos online?
No, I just told them I did web design. I was like, look, because it's like when you tell someone you're a YouTuber, it's like, I mean, the conversation at first is like, oh, so what do you talk about? And all this stuff. And it's like, I talk about Divi. What's Divi? It's like, just forget it. Like you won't just I build websites.
Save that for the third date, man.
Yeah. So, and plus, I don't want to get anyone the wrong impression. It's like, oh, this guy has money. Okay, I'll talk to him. And I don't want to give people that impression either. So I just say, I just build websites online. And everyone's like, well, how are you living in Bangkok and you are building websites for people? I'm like, yeah. That's what I do. That's where the conversation stops.
Yeah, I did. I felt the same thing. Like when I met my wife, she was a catering coordinator at Panera. They have Panera Bread in California when you lived there?
Yeah, they got Panera Bread.
Okay,
that place is depressing.
Yeah, I used to do all my meetings there because it was one of the first like coffee shops in our hometown here. But she was a catering coordinator, so she saw me quite a bit doing meetings. So when we met, she wasn't sure what I did. I don't think she fully understood what I did for a couple years into it, which was probably partially my fault. But the same thing, like I'm not going to talk to her about Divi stuff if, we're just dating. So I did the same thing. I kind of told her that I built websites, which I'm sure it was like kind of weird at first. She's like, okay, this dude just builds websites. Like, what's this all about? But eventually she kind of learned more about the business, and now she's like fully integrated. I tell her, she knows everything that's going on. But yeah, it took a while to kind of explain exactly what I did. And it's very confusing on the outside, whether it's relationship based or just family. So it's kind of interesting. We'll have to do another episode on just how to explain what the heck we do.
Right.
And it's also one thing to consider too with web design in general. It's very new. Like what we do was not available even probably 10, 15 years ago. It looked completely different. So
just WordPress itself 5 years ago. I mean, I was teaching people how to use Site Origin. You remember Site Origin?
No, I never used that.
The page builder. It was like the only page builder for WordPress back in like 2015, and it was literally like the only way you can build pages with WordPress, and it was like a backend builder, and you couldn't see anything. Everything was like typing, so you couldn't do anything visually. And I first used Site Origin, and I was just like, man, I'd always look for themes that had actually a customizer builder. Like I don't know if you remember ThemeIsle. They offered some themes that actually you'd build the website through the theme customizer, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit better than Site Origin. So I'd always look for a page builder because I hated using Visual Composer back then. I could not use that. I tried it.
I never used it. I missed that train. Thank goodness. I kind of got into Divi. Divi was the first builder I really used. I just did the typical find a theme that would work and then kind of customize it from there.
I was using Divi too. Yeah, before 3.0. Remember they didn't have the front end back before 3.0. Right. Yeah. So
it is interesting though. Like technology has just moved so quick that it is hard to explain exactly what we do. Like a lot of people, if they become a lawyer, they can tell their family, "Oh, I'm a lawyer." Everyone's like, "Oh, wow," like he's they're really crushing it. They're actually doing something that's valuable and is gonna make some money and stuff like that. Where what we do is the cool thing about it is that the sky is the limit. Whether it's YouTube, whether it's web design, whatever it is, technology has allowed us the opportunity to make as much as we want, depending on how hard we want to work for it, which I think is just amazing.
Yeah, that's true. And the same thing me is like the more videos I can pump out, the better, so it's up to me to make these videos. Just I've had so much outside influences. Like I have friends that want to go out and drink. It's like, well, if I go out to the bar and I drink tonight, I can't work tomorrow. Then maybe the next day I'll feel bad too. So that that's minus 2 days right there. I don't think I can afford it, guys. I'm
Yes.
just gonna stay home and play Warcraft or something like that.
I had that same realization too, man.
Yeah.
This was before I met my wife, and I was going out with friends quite a bit. I mean, I was also 23 at that time, or I think I was like 24 is when things really changed for me, because we were out at a bar one night and it was like, we were supposed to go out just for a little bit, but you know how that goes. You go for a few drinks downtown, you're not coming home till 3. So it was like 11:30 or so. I think we went out at like 9:30, and that the thought of that with 2 babies now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine getting started at 10 p.m. nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think we did that, and then it was like 11:30 or midnight, and all my buddies were having a good time, and I was like, I've got a meeting in the morning. Like I had started my business at that point, and it started picking up some traction. It was becoming more legit. And that's when I kind of realized for me, like, I can't hang around these dudes anymore. Like, they're just not, I hate to say they're not on the same level as I am, because that sounds terrible, but it's just true. We were on different paths. Like, they just wanted to, and it was like a Thursday night too. It wasn't like a Friday or Saturday night. And I was like, you know what? I've got a meeting. Like, it really kind of hit me that I was kind of maturing in some ways, and I was just getting out of that scene and becoming a business professional. Sounds like you kind of hit that too, and it was all about priorities, right? You realize, you know what? I could drink with my buddy here who's probably not going to remember anything in the morning. I'm going to blow out my voice trying to talk to him over this club music, or I can get some sleep and make some money at a meeting tomorrow because I got bills to pay now.
Exactly. That's pretty much exactly how I think now, because if I do anything with friends or go out too late, the next day it's in my face, and also it could be possibly in my voice, because people on YouTube, they know when you're tired. They know, and they can see it, they can feel it, because they watch videos all the time. So if I'm not 100% aware, they're going to say, I think the worst comment I've seen is, Darryl, you look tired today. And I was like, you could have said anything else, but that comment is like, that's a deep comment right there.
that one hurt. That's funny.
That strikes me deep,
That's funny you mentioned that, because part of me is like, why did I launch my podcast right around when my second daughter was born? Because things are just chaos trying to manage 2 babies under 2. And like, I look tired all the time now. It's just the way it's going to be for a while. And our diet isn't great right now. So I've got some web design pudge I need to work off. Like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, you know what, maybe that's one reason to just feel better and look better too when we're on video all the time. It is important. But I have that same idea. Even today, like, I try to make my calls at times I know I'm going to be with it, which are usually like late morning and early afternoon for me. I don't ever want to do a podcast at like 5 p.m. It's never going to go well. So do you have any certain times of the day that work good for you? I mean, I know you don't have a family yet, right? So you're a little more like, you can probably work around.
Family.
So you can work around whatever works for you.
It depends. If I work, I mean, back in California, I always do YouTube at nighttime. I prefer to work at nighttime. Over the years, I think now I prefer to do it in the midday. Try to do it in the afternoon, and then also, if I make videos where I don't show my face, I can record those anytime. I like to record those at night, actually. Before this phone call, I was recording a video as well. So, and that one I didn't show my face. So I just said, I don't feel, if it's at nighttime. The thing is, at nighttime you have to like do the lighting. Sometimes you don't look the best. You're hungry, and recording at night can be like a little harder, but
probably a little loopy too, right?
Yeah, if I'm not going to show my face, then I say, if it's fine, then,
Right.
But I just want to get the work done.
It's interesting. I think as creatives, which all web designers are creatives, there are just times that work better for some people. I know before I was married, when I started dating my now wife, she was working at nights at the hospital for a while. That was after she got done being a catering coordinator. She worked nights, and we were engaged at that point. And I would do like the most productive work segments from like 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Like the evening hour. It's when I started blogging. It's when I don't know what it was about those hours, but I'm better at being a night owl. I am not great at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. That's like, I'd like to be in bed until 7, and then 7 to like 8 or 8:30. I like to be drinking coffee and reading, or now hanging out with my girls and all that stuff. So like, I'm much better between 10 a.m. and like 4 p.m. Whereas I used to be great at like in the evening hours. But again, as family comes into the picture, I'm not sure what that will look like for you or what your goals are, but it definitely changed things to where now I'm forced to be more productive during these day hours. But it is interesting.
see.
Creativity kind of comes at certain times for certain people.
Yeah, and also for me in my industry, I have to be like right now. I'm in a good mood. You know, I feel good to talk, and I'm in a good mood. And sometimes I've talked to other YouTubers too, and I've tried to record on like bad days, like because every day you don't want, like when you go on camera, you have to be happy, you have to be good every single time. And if you're not, your viewers are gonna know. And I've also got comments where they're just like, Darryl, is everything all right at home? Like, you don't look good. And I'm like, guys, what is that? Like, what kind of comment is that? And they're right, because that day I did not feel like recording. And I've had days where I go to the office, I'm like, I have my coffee, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna record and I'm gonna do this. And then right when I get on mic, I'm like, I just don't want to record today. I don't feel it. I don't feel like it. And I just go home. I literally walk to the office and I just go home, because someone that's doing YouTube, we have to be in a good mood, because I don't want to, be in a bad mood and talk, and viewers to be like, oh, this guy's in a bad mood today.
That's a great point, man.
Like that.
Yeah, gosh, I feel like such a kinship with some of the stuff you're talking about, because I've thought about that, but not to that extent. And it's been, to be honest, that's been one of the hardest things for me with balancing this endeavor with doing podcasts and doing videos, along with managing my business. And like, I don't know how much you know about my story, but my first daughter, she has some developmental delays and some feeding problems. And we were in the NICU for 2 months when she was born. And we go to a shit ton of hospital appointments. And like we've gone to the amount of appointments that we probably would have had if we had 10 regular kids, who didn't have to go through that stuff. And that stuff affects me. Like sometimes like we'll do an appointment in the morning and I'm like done. I'm done by the time we get back. So I've had to it's interesting. I've had to work my content around my mood as well. And at some point, because I'm sure you feel the same way, you don't want to come across fake. Like you want to be real. You also, you want to like elevate your mood and be as happy as you can be, but you don't want it to be, because people know if you're being genuine or you're just like, you're done. So there have been some videos where I've been a little more tired and I can tell, like I'll listen back to it and I'm like, yep, I can tell I was a little tired, wasn't quite with it. So that's why sometimes I try to do my podcast interviews in the mid-morning. That way I don't have any client issues come up and then have to scramble and then get in the right frame of mind for a podcast interview. Sometimes there's no way to go about it. There's like, you know what? I've got to man up here and just do it. But there are some times where it's like, I'm going to hold off on this video, particularly with course stuff. Yesterday was a prime example. I was going to do a few course videos and I had to push them off till this afternoon because I had a client domain issue going on and I was on support with their hosting and my hosting, and it was just a little bit of a nightmare situation. Their website's down, they're freaking out saying they're not getting business. So that did not put me in the frame of mind to do a couple nice course videos. So I totally understand that, man.
Even yesterday, I recorded a video for YouTube that was about 45 minutes long, and then I watched the video again, like you said, just to watch it again, and I just deleted it. I says, you know what? I just can't. I don't, because that's when I was recovering from food poisoning. But I was at home for like 2 days, and I was like, I'm tired of being at home. Like I don't want to be at home no more. I want to make videos. So I went to the office, and I can feel it in my stomach, and I'm just like, oh, it's all right. I'll work through it. I'll push through it, and I'm trying to do my best. And when you have like a stomach ache, that's like, you can't hide that. It's
right.
You don't feel good in your stomach. That's like the worst,
Yeah, like you could get by with a head cold, even though you may sound. And there's sometimes, because I have terrible allergies, there's some videos where I'm like, well, I'm super nasally in that one, but by golly, they're gonna have to deal with it. But there are certain illnesses where it's like that affects you to the core, man.
Yeah. So I just felt terrible. So I just deleted the video and I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just try this again tomorrow. And that is today. And I got the video done. But I've had nightmare experiences too on YouTube where I would record a 3-hour Divi tutorial and then the recorder wasn't even on.
Oh.
Or I would record the video and then when I would actually stop it, it would say, okay, like save and discard. I would click on discard.
Oh man.
Or sometimes the computer just crashes when it's rendering.
Yeah.
And I've had experiences where I record 2-3 hour videos, and when that happens, it's so bad I have to just leave and come back in like 2 days, 3 days, and try it all over again, because I'm like, I mean, when you record a 2-3 hour video that's perfected and then it gets deleted like that, it kills your persona. It
Oh,
just
dude, yeah, that's what you're not
yeah,
ready to just jump right back on another video to re-record it.
no
No, you're
way.
done. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
you're
just like,
going
you
to
know what? Yeah,
Darrel's at the bar for happy hour after that one, man, for sure.
yeah, yeah, and it's happened sometimes. Even in my videos, I check to see if the recorder's on, and I
Yep.
tell my audience, I'm like, guys, I'm checking to see the recorder's on because sometimes I click on it and it says it's recording, and I go back and it's not, and then I'm talking to myself for an hour, you know. So it's
Yep.
like
I'm doing that
it
right now.
sucks.
If people ever see me, if they're watching this podcast, because I'm on video too, if I ever look up, I'm usually looking at the recorder to make sure it's on. I've done that too, man. I've done that to where I've recorded a 25-minute video. I'm like, dang it, I freaking forgot to hit record. Or one thing I've done, this is a practical thing for anyone who does video, even if you're just doing client training or anything, is sometimes I would do something and I would pause it to like cough or something. And I
Yeah,
would get going and I would forget to record again. So I was still paused. That used to kill me. So now what I do is if I ever have to stop a video, I just stop and then I just edit it out. That way I don't
yeah.
forget to hit record. Or sometimes if you pause and record, that can really mess up the program you're using, and that can you can have some technical problems like that. So I
Yeah,
feel you there, man.
yeah, so the journey of YouTube and everything definitely it has its pros and cons, you know, obviously, but I would say overall it's great. I mean, I am right now. I was traveling the world. Right now, I've been in Bangkok for I would say here for almost a year now. I've been here, and yeah, I've been here ever since. The whole coronavirus thing is pretty scary because I'm actually really close to it. But
Mm.
where I'm at right now, there's probably only like I want to say they got it down to like 15 cases because there was like 30 cases, but like 16 of them recovered, so there's still like 14 left. But
Yeah. Now,
uh,
what I'm curious, what made you want to leave California? Because you were you grew up in California, right? You're a California
yeah,
dude.
born and raised there. Yeah,
So yeah, what did that look like? I kind of wanted to ask that more in the beginning with your story, but I'm just curious as somebody who is a fan of yours and who's watched a lot of your videos, like what did that look like? Did you just want to travel? And I guess part two to that is, did YouTube give you the ability to do that and to
yeah.
support
So
yourself while traveling?
at first I was my friend wanted to go travel and he wanted to go to Costa Rica. So I was like, well, bro, I have no reason to say no to you. So, you know, I can go. And so I went. And after I was in South America for about like a few weeks, I was like, you know, it's really fun, man. You know, I really needed that vacation. And then, you know, he's like, well, I got to go back to work now. And I'm like, maybe I can go check out another place, you know, and maybe I can go check it out. So eventually, I just said, all right, I'm gonna go to Norway, you know, and I was in Norway, you know, and it was great out there. So I just started spending more and more time, and I found myself going traveling more than even being at home. So I'm kind of like, you know, should I stay in Cali? Like, I mean, I'm in the highest tax state in the nation. You know,
Yeah.
I think if I left for a 2 years, 3 years, I can potentially save a lot of money, and I can always come back. You know, it's not like I'm gone forever. And after just traveling so much, I met someone in Phuket, Thailand, and I've been here ever since. And that was pretty much my whole story. But before that, I was just traveling and traveling, and then you know, I got to the question of why do I have to go back? You know, I'm not married, I don't have kids, so
Were
it was
you
kind of a
were you working, like were you doing videos while you were traveling as well periodically, or did you try to like get enough content in place that would hold you over while you travel?
Yeah, I actually I recorded at home, and on YouTube you can schedule out videos. So I
Hmm.
would schedule out videos for the next 2 months. I would just work my butt off and just
Oh,
push
that's
out
awesome.
content. And then yeah, after that I was like, all right, I'm gonna check out these other countries. And then you know, I would Google the whole expat digital nomad kind of thing, and I'm like, you know, is that a people do that? You know, you know, like people really do that. And after I did it, I loved it, man. I mean, because I always love Cali. You know, I can always go back there anytime I want. But it's again one of the most highest tax states in the nation. So I was paying all this money, and I'm like, you know, I don't have to stay here. It's kind of very expensive, and you know, how many times do I go to Hollywood? Like never, you know. So, and I was like, well, yeah, I can probably go somewhere else, and that's where ended up staying in Asia, where I pay a lot less tax than before, and It's close to everything. So, I came back from Japan recently. I was there. I actually want to go back for the Pearl Blossom season because they have where everything turns pink
Oh
and stuff like
yeah, the
that.
pink flag. Yeah, yeah.
That's coming up right now. But now with the whole coronavirus thing, I'm kind of like, yeah, I have a friend too in Japan. She lives in Kagoshima, and she's saying that like tourism's dead. She's like, no one's coming here. She's like, the Pearl Blossom area is like no one's there because of the
Oh.
coronavirus thing. So
Hmm.
I think this year I might stay here. Might stay back too because there's like
Yeah,
200 plus
just
cases out there.
oh
You
man,
know?
that's scary. Do you
Yeah.
speak any other languages?
I speak Spanish and I also I'm learning Thai. So
Okay, I was wondering. Yeah, living in Bangkok. I mean, I
yeah,
imagine there's a lot of English speaking there, but
yeah. There's a lot of Americans here, tons of Americans, and the Thai language, most Asian languages, they're kind of broken. So what that means is the way they basically talk like cavemen. That's basically the best way I can
mm,
use to describe it because the Asian language is like the first language, I think. So when they speak, they really talk like cavemen, like me hungry now. It's like, oh, you're hungry.
gotcha.
Like that's
Interesting.
kind of how they speak. So
Yeah, yeah. Like if you translate it to English, it's like caveman talk,
yeah,
basically. Yeah.
if you translate it to like I'm like, hey, I'm really hungry right now. It's like me hungry now wants. It's like, oh, okay, you're hungry.
Hmm.
Okay, I get it. So it's been very interesting learning Thai, and I was in school for about a month and a half, and I needed a break, and now I'm at the point where like, look, I got to go back. So if I don't go back, I'm never gonna go back.
Yeah. Man, I'm
So
curious. Like, so you talked about, taxes and some of the business aspect of stuff. Like, you're at a
yeah,
point now where you're making, I know you're making, I don't know how much you're making exactly, and you don't have to disclose that, but you're doing pretty dang well.
yeah,
What have you had to learn? Because I'm in the same boat where I'm like, I'm leveling up more and more. I've had to become a different, more mature professional to be able to
yeah,
handle the success that I'm having. And I'm not like rolling in dough or anything, but I'm certainly like, I'm providing for a family in a good neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, which is one of the top real estate markets in the country. Like I'm learning how to handle the success that I'm getting now. What did that look like for you? Like, did you find yourself unprepared at any point when you were making a ton of money? Did you blow a ton of money at one point, or did you, I guess that's my question, is like, what have you learned personally and professionally to help you with your success?
I think that when I first, no, I've always been somewhat conservative, but never cheap. Like if I needed something, I'd buy it. I don't care how much it costs. It's like everyone's like, well, it's kind of expensive. But it's like, look, man, if you're gonna use it every single day, just get it. If the
Absolutely.
mic you're using costs $1,000, just get it because you use it every single day. If it were something that you use like once a year, it's like, no, man, don't buy that. But um, as far as like it's actually kind of developed me and changed me too because over time I did become more mature. I learned how to decline a ton. I mean, I decline offers every single day now for sponsored ads, and I'm very careful about who I promote. I'm very careful about like what I talk to or when I work with companies. I'm always like I'm always like I'm more of a business guy now. I'm always like, all right, well we'll see how this goes. But in the back of my head, I'm like, never get attached. So I can walk away or not promote it. And this I've always been the same person. So I mean, I still eat the same food. I still wear the same clothes. I'm kind of like those. What's the I don't want to call myself Bill Gates or what's the guy's name for the app for the iPhone? I forgot.
Oh, Steve Jobs or something
Yeah,
like,
Steve
yeah.
Jobs. Like I still wear like old Nikes. I still wear the same pants. I've never been a brand guy. Like I'm not like, oh, I need to buy expensive stuff now. Like I'm not that person, and I'll never be that person. But I always keep my priorities straight. Like I always
Nice.
focus on quality content. Um, quality is everything. In my book, it's everything because that's what develops a channel. But as far as success goes, it's sometimes I feel like the money I have is just unnecessary because it's like I have all this money, I can't even spend it. What am I going to use it on? Like, so I'm just kind of just holding on to it until I find a reason to spend it. But it doesn't really feel like much. It's like, oh, I made like $10,000 last week. I'm like, cool. Like,
What's the cost of living like with Bangkok versus obviously California is like, if you're either in LA, I don't know where you're at now. Were you in LA or outside?
yeah, I was in a city called Santa Clarita. So
Okay.
it's technically right. It shouldn't be considered Los Angeles, but it's on the outskirts of LA. but
Gotcha.
it's like beautiful. It's like all it's not like typical city. It's like countryside. It's
Okay.
all countryside. It's mountains.
Yeah,
It's
and the
beautiful.
reason I ask is because like if you live in LA or California for that matter, or New York or outside of like Chicago or some other places, like the cost of living is just so high. Columbus is getting there. We're a Midwestern town, so things aren't too bad, but
Yeah.
we're certainly growing to the point where living expenses are just getting more here too. Like to be able to provide for my family, it's getting more and more expensive. So yeah, like
Yeah.
with where you're at now, is that a benefit too? I mean, it doesn't sound like the margins are too thin for you, but I would imagine you're able to even put more back. And obviously, you don't have a family or anything yet, but you're also probably saving a lot with taxes, like you mentioned, and then just cost of living.
Yeah. I think the issue with California is that it strangleholds you. So, for example, let's just say, for instance, you make $200,000. After you pay your taxes, they want around 40%. Now you have around $120,000. And then the thing is with gas, the gas is in California is blazing expensive. I mean, you're paying almost $5 a gallon. You're paying the highest sales tax. The real estate is just it's crazy out there. So besides the actual taxes, everything around that also like forces you down. It doesn't allow you to grow. Even if you make like $300,000, the way the tax system's set up and the way the real estate and all the inflation set up, it's like you'll never get ahead, and it's very hard to get ahead in California. So it's
That's
it's hard
interesting.
to it's hard to save money because everything's big, so you have to drive, and then if you want to buy a car, you have to buy a car, and then you have to pay a lot of sales tax on top of that. So that's
Yeah.
factored in there, and
And I have some clients in California, and it's interesting just from a business perspective. Like they were fine with a $4,000 website for something where somebody here in Columbus may not be as fine with that because the dollar, yeah, the inflation is different. Like they're just used to things being more expensive. So
yeah,
one thing I talk about in my business course is for people who are in certain areas, you're not confined to just that area, which is awesome about web design. Like if you get picked
yeah,
up from somebody in New York or something, they're going to be much more apt to have a bigger budget. So in some
yeah,
ways that can work out pretty well in web design. But either way, and the reason I wanted to ask about how you're dealing with success is because I've found, and I'm sure you've seen this too, so many people are just focused on overnight success or quick money, quick wins, the short game kind of stuff we talked about earlier. But the
yeah,
first thing I talk about in my business course is addressing mindset to make sure you're actually prepared mentally, emotionally, even just consistently with your schedule, like setting yourself up to be able to maintain that success. Because what happens is a lot of people, even just in web design, they'll get a lot of success, but then they can't handle it. They either don't know what to do with the money or they don't know what to do with their schedule. They've got too much coming in where they don't know how to delegate the work. And yeah, I think that's super, super important to really focus on the fundamentals of, being able to handle success before you go out for success. I think a lot of people are just
yeah.
focused on getting money, more money, more money. But it's like, well, the more important thing is mentality and consistency and being prepared for that. So you know what to do moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. I mean, at first I was making a little bit, then a lot, then a lot, until the fact where I'm like, man, like I can go to jail if I don't pay taxes now.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
at
Did
first,
you,
like I was like waiting for the W-2. I was like, yes, like I can't wait to get $1,000 back. And now it's like if I don't pay taxes, like I can literally go to jail. If I don't pay
yeah,
taxes.
yeah,
That's where I was kind of scary. I was like, wow,
yeah,
like
a couple
I can go
years
to jail.
ago, yeah, a couple years ago, I was totally fine with investing a decent amount a month with a really good CPA. She's a local contact of mine, and she's awesome. And yeah, like it's something that a few years ago I probably been like, oh man, that's a lot of money a month. But now, with how much they know about the tax laws, and they save me, and they're like in my corner every month to help me with all the numbers and stuff, I've found that to be invaluable. Did you have to turn to some tax consultants and people that you're like, you know what, I'm going to hire you to do this? Because I
Oh
imagine,
yeah.
particularly with going between different countries, there's a lot of things that you're not a tax professional. You don't want to keep up with
Nope.
that stuff, right?
Yeah, I had to hire a guy that lives in Belize, and he's a US tax attorney, and he basically, I think I bought one of his courses. It cost me around almost $3,000, and the regular person is going to say, "Bro, that's crazy. That's so much money." But when you're talking about tax, it's like, well, how much can that person save you in the long run? So if they can save you at least 10%, then that $3,000 is definitely worth it. And I was referred to him by a credible friend.
Okay.
I have one friend, and he was like, "Bro, this guy really knows his stuff. I bought his course. I'm saving money. If you want to try it, you can try it. But I definitely think that if you take this course, you'll save money." So yeah, I took one of his courses, and now I'm that's where I'm like doing like I'm basically earning foreign earned income now. Before I was paying like regular taxes to the United States government.
Yeah.
So there's a whole legal system behind it. So that's where I was like, I don't know anything about this. Like I'm a WordPress instructor on YouTube. You know, I don't know anything about taxes. And then
I'm sure you've seen this too. There's a big difference between the mindset with people who are in the corporate world and have salary positions compared to business owners and more specifically entrepreneurs like ourselves. Like I am always going to hire somebody who knows more than I do. That's why I like am fine. Cause some people are like, why would you, invest in a financial advisor? You can figure that out. Or even a CPA, you could do your own taxes, but how much more money are you going to pay? And then, like once you get to a point where you're making a decent amount, there's times where I'm like, man, I hope I'm not missing anything. Cause I do not feel like going to jail, It's that same thing, particularly when you get to a 6-figure amount where it's like, okay, stuff's getting legit. I need to make sure everything else is legit. I'm on that same boat, and I understand when people are just getting started, you're bootstrapping your business, you don't have a whole lot of money, but I would say once you turn that corner where you're starting to make some money, you need to get serious about financial stuff, taxes, and all that. And that's why I've had some people on this podcast. I have my financial advisor on talking about some saving for retirement tips, which is really cool. And like I'd love to get my CPA on, but I don't even know if we could talk about tax stuff on a podcast. I don't know if that's even
let's
legal.
Let's talk about how much money you make, Josh. Just tell everyone everything about, what do you spend your money on?
Right. Yeah. No, but that mindset, man, that's invaluable to your point. If it's something you use every day, whether it's a piece of technology or if it's a service, or in my case, it's why I'm very open about promoting courses, and I take courses. Like I spend a lot of money on courses and trainings. As long as it levels me up faster, it's worth it. So couldn't agree more, man. Yeah. Right, well, awesome, Darryl. Well, hey man, I know my talks go usually anywhere between an hour and a half. I'm not sure how you're doing on time, but we've covered some really cool things. I know my audience, again, this is an episode where they're not probably going to be their own. I mean, some people may take this and be like, crap, I'm ready to start my own YouTube channel, which would be great. But most of my audience are web designers and they know you, or at least have seen a lot of your tutorials. One question I wanted to ask, have you ever had, have you had some moments in what you've done that have been really just personally gratifying? Like, have you ever got a message from people you've helped launch their career, or aside from just making a good living off of YouTube, have you had any sort of like really good wins or successes that have kept you going?
Yeah, I get comments daily saying that I watch your videos. I literally started my own web design business from you. I get so many of these comments and people are saying I changed their life. Like literally, like, bro, I watched this stupid video on YouTube and you changed my life. Like I'm working full time with a web agency. I decided to go a step further and learn how to do coding with PHP and stuff. And now it's like I'm fully geared and ready to go. I ditched my old job, and I told everyone in my videos, and a lot of people think that it's not possible. They have that matrix mentality where they're just like, oh, that's impossible, bro. You can't do that. And it's like, just try it, man. Just do it. See where it goes. I mean, that same mentality I could have had for YouTube. I could have said, oh man, everyone's doing it, bro. Everyone's doing it. It's so many people. And I could have said all that, but instead I just says, nah, man, I'm going to really try this and I'm going to keep doing it until the channel I have today, and I have a lot of subscribers, tons of views, and I think everyone's really happy. But yeah, I would have to say that I've really changed people's lives on YouTube, definitely, and people have started their own web design agency and stuff like that. That's why I kind of also feel committed to make a course, because you have your courses as well, and I people have been asking me to make a course, and I'm getting there. It's just that I'm so occupied with YouTube and everything. I'm working on it, but I think over time we'll get there, because I want to show people my experiences, what I did, my proposals. When people say, "Oh, that's too expensive," it's like, I love that, because then that's your pitch to kind of go in there and say, "Well, this is why," and then make them look like an idiot for declining your service. It's like,
explain.
It's like, now what are you gonna do? You're gonna go back to this guy over there and because once they actually get your proposal, they'll go to other people and they'll think to themselves, man, that other guy knew what he was talking about. Like I rather, I think I'll go back to that guy. And that's usually what happens, and again, presentation and your proposal and your appearance is everything, not just web design skills. That's like actually last, sadly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's one of those things too, when you made that leap to go full-time YouTube, it goes back to the idea of like, which I've talked about this with multiple guests. It seems like everyone got to that point in their business where they just went for it. There's always a large amount of risk. There's not been one situation where somebody's like, you know what, I got plenty of money coming in. There's no risk of just starting my business. There's always a big risk, which I think breeds a lot of like muscle to help, pull you through a lot of those tough times. And you kind of need that risk to really embrace what you're doing and make it work. But it kind of goes back to the idea of like, what's the worst that can happen? You can, like to your point earlier, you could always go back and get that job. You could always figure out something. Very rarely are people going to end up on the streets if their business doesn't work. Like I've talked about that before. I've had to miss, like years ago, we had to miss a couple mortgage payments, or we didn't miss them. We delayed them. Where it's like, well, I'm in the middle of a ton of projects right now. None of them are starting or ending right now. So I'm going to have to push our mortgage payment back about 15 days or whatever. But then the next month was like a flood of income. And this is before I started my maintenance plan and got serious about recurring income. But yeah, like that was, in our case, that was the worst that happened. That's the worst thing that's ever happened for our business. We were late on a couple mortgage payments, not that big of a deal. And even God forbid, we weren't able to pay our house or whatever, we have family nearby. Like we are never going to end up on the street. So I'm just a big proponent of if you've got a valid business, particularly in web design, that's why we have courses, your tutorials, and so many training resources out there. Go for it. And it sounds like you're in the same mindset. For me, I would choose freedom over stability any day. Like the freedom I have with my schedule and hang out with my family. It's great. I have not had a job since 2009. And a lot of people are like, what? No way. I'm like, yeah, it's been all freelance since then. And I wouldn't have it any other way. There's been good times and bad times for sure, but it's been awesome overall.
So since your audience is mostly Divi audience, and we're going to wrap this up soon, I'm going to ask you a question about elegant themes.
Sure, man.
Well, two questions. What do you think about their marketplace? And what do you think about their pre-made layouts they're pumping out their template library?
Let me start with the templates. I think that's an easier question. I don't use them myself. I don't think there's anything against them. Layouts for people who are maybe new to Divi, Divi comes with 150 or some pre-made layouts, which are great starting points. And particularly if you're not great at design, unless you take my upcoming design course, you can learn good design by looking at those layouts. My only beef and my only issue with that is, again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, a lot of that is based on theory. Some of the people who are designing may have had businesses, but I haven't done any child themes or really invested time in layouts yet, but eventually I plan to. But the difference is everything that I'm going to do is based off of our real web design projects, like an actual child theme or a layout that's based off of a home inspector, for example, that is making our home inspector clients money. So I think some of the stuff is just based on theory. So it's cool stuff, but I just don't know that it translates as much to the real world as, somebody like yourself or myself who is actually in the market working with clients. I think it's awesome what they've done. I think it's a great benefit of Divi. And let's not forget, Divi is freaking dirt cheap. $89 a year. It's insane. I think it's not a great business model, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I would pay thousands of bucks for Divi annually because it's that important to me.
I think they should increase their plans too, because their audience is way higher quality than most other industries. Because I'm gonna talk about Elementor again. Their audience, like when I have a YouTube channel, when I get Elementor users, they want everything for free and they complain about paying for anything, and it's like, and my affiliate commissions for Elementor are actually way lower. In fact, they're probably the lowest performing affiliate program out there. And it's because they're attracting an audience that wants everything for free. And it's like they don't care about quality. They care about price. And it's like those people, they're designed to fail. It's like, okay, if you're just going to build your business based off price and not quality, you're going to fail in life.
You don't want to win the race to the bottom of the barrel in any industry. Yeah, you don't want to be the cheapest. And it's one thing I tell all my students. I'm like, you can start out cheap, air quotes. But
Yeah.
as soon as you become more valuable, you want to start raising your rates, and you want to be in the middle. You don't want to be the most expensive, but you don't want to be the least expensive, unless you're at a position where you're an authority. You can be the most expensive. But
and the Divi community is willing to pay a lot more. Like they're willing to pay for. If it's a good product, they're willing to pay for it. That's it.
Yeah,
and that's a great audience. It's like,
you know what I think too, man. I didn't really think about this, but I think Elegant Themes has also, not only have they empowered people like myself and real entrepreneurs in the Divi community online, but there's local meetups. There's a lot of really good engagement. But the other aspect to that is they are empowering business people. Where I don't know about Elementor, I'm not an Elementor user, but a lot of these other builders are just strictly on design and website design, where Elegant Themes has really put a lot up in place to help business owners, which is huge, because you're talking about getting more serious people, getting more professionals. It's not just the do-it-yourselfer Wix type. Like Wix doesn't have a bunch of business owners that are pumped up about using their platform. All they have is people trying to build a quick, cheap website. And it's only going to go so far. Like, they do things in massive scale, but God knows the amount of returns they get and tech support. I mean, it just sounds like a nightmare. So I think in short, the layouts have definitely helped, but Elegant Themes overall has helped business owners. And to segue that to your first question, the marketplace, I think it's going to be pretty legit. I signed up already for an account. I don't know when it's going to come out officially. I do think it's going to be very legit. There are some quality marketplaces out there now, like Divi Cake, some other ones, and like our friend Tim Strifler has plugins. I don't even know, like some other ones we don't have to mention. I don't even know of her existence anymore. I know you've had some interesting run-ins, but and even like Divi Space, Divi Life, Divi Lover, and some of the other places that have child themes and plugins, those aren't marketplaces per se. They do have products, but it's their products. To where this is going to be a little bit different. I'm sure they're going to have those on the marketplace as well. But I think it's going to be pretty legit. I plan, my kind of goal, just to kind of fill you in on everybody else, is I've got my website design course that's coming out here shortly. And then that'll be my 8th course. And then the next course I'm going to do is an SEO course, teaching everything I've learned that I've learned and used for myself with SEO, but also for what's worked for our clients. And once I get that done, I'm going to have like a nice suite of 9 courses. And pretty much anyone wanting to design sites or get their business going, they're going to be able to either use a handful or all of my courses. And that's when I'm going to kind of transition into doing potentially more child themes and layouts that are based off of our real designs. And I do plan on using the marketplace. Yeah, I do. So I might sell them on my site. I'm not for sure. There's benefits. When you sell on your own site, you get a higher commission. You get to... They're your user. You can add them to whatever email platform you have set up, where it's a little bit different with the marketplace. But I mean, man, the marketplace for Elegant Themes, they're closing on 700,000 customers. It's going to be available to all of them. They're going to be able to vet out all of the products to make sure stuff's legit. And I know for me personally, and this might be something you could consider too, Darryl, is I plan on using the marketplace as like an entry point to get people interested in my stuff. And that will undoubtedly lead to course sales. So if somebody's hunting on the marketplace and they say, oh, who's this Josh Hall guy? But, oh, I really like this barbershop layout. Oh, he actually used this on real clients. That's pretty cool. If you really like the child theme, likes my trainings, sees some of my tutorials, they're gonna be like, oh crap, he has a whole beginner's course. Cool. And then again, it starts that pathway, getting them plugged in. So that's kind of how I'm viewing it. I'm viewing it as more of like an extension of marketing. I don't, it could be a big moneymaker, but that's not what I'm worried about as much. I'm the same way. Like I'm a feeler. I would much rather do valuable work that makes an impact on people, which is why I love doing courses. I'm not in it to be honest, if I just wanted to make a bunch of money, I probably wouldn't be doing what I do right now, because I have to work really hard to make a lot of money at all this, but I love it. Like it's impactful. And same for you. I get stories all the time. One of my web design students hit me up last week, and it was his first month where he's got over $21,000 of invoices out for clients, and his business is only a year old. Like that is amazing. So that's the kind of thing that fires me up. And the marketplace is just going to be kind of an extension of that. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on either one of those, but that's kind of my thoughts on it.
No, I'm the same way. I'm excited to see what the marketplace is going to offer. And you're right. There's so many marketplaces where they just throw up anyone out there, and like it's just like, oh god, what is this? Like I've seen some child themes people making it's not their fault. Like it's not the people's fault for making the layouts. They're obvious amateurs, but it's like sometimes the website should have some sort of like, authority to say, hey man, this site looks really bad. Can you maybe fix it up or something? And I think Elegant Themes is definitely going to do that because they're very strict on quality. And I know they're going to intertwine it with their blog. They're going to start doing like, check out this plugin review, top 5 plugins for this review. And their blog gets massive traffic, like,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
dude.
their blog is huge.
When
Yeah,
I haven't done an article in a while, but when I did just the first few articles I put up on there, I think they were at 2 million a year or something like that. And I think now it's probably more like 10 it's just crazy. Crazy.
I actually made a video. It's going to be released next week. And I actually talk about your article on Elegant Themes about web design pricing. So I kind of go over my experience with my web design pricing, like how to price your web design business. And you labeled 5. And I know we probably only use 1 or 2 of them. But the other 3 are
pricing, like, pricing models.
Yeah, like you had like a pay per page and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff I think is for like the Fiverr crowd.
Yes,
but
yes, yeah. And I laid out I laid out the most common in my business course. I actually go into a lot more detail and I show my exact pricing and I show real websites that I've converted and some of my invoices and proposals. But yeah, there's the ones that are available and there are ones that I recommend. I kind of listed the common I think I talk about which ones I prefer in that article, but yeah, I actually do like a new version of that in my business course where we really get into the weeds of get into like value-based pricing, which is really cool. And then, some different models, but that article is a great starting point for people. Maybe I'll link that in the show notes here too. Yeah. I'm excited to see that. Then I'll have to check that video out.
Yeah, I already made the video. It's already uploaded. It's actually scheduled for next week.
Awesome.
I'm trying to get ahead because I plan on making a lot of big tutorials in March, and I'm trying to study themes and plugins to learn it and master them before I make tutorials. I've seen tutorials where people like are making tutorials on a plugin, and I know they don't know how to use it. They're like, this does something, and I've done that like once or twice where I just didn't want to read the documentation on something. And some companies like Site Revolution is one of them. They just have bad documentation on their product. And I've read their documentation and I'm like, it doesn't say how to do this, guys. Like, here's your documentation. Like,
right.
So I do my best to try to make myself look knowledgeable, but sometimes it's like, guys, it's not my fault. Like, the developer has no good documentation on the product.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So.
Yeah, well, it's pretty cool, man. What's going on with Elegant Themes, and I know you're plugged in with a few different builders, so I'm excited to see where your channel and journey continues to go, man.
When they launch the marketplace, I'll make a video on it right away. I'll check it out, review it, I'll give my personal thoughts, and see what the community thinks about it. See, is this good? Is this bad? What do you think?
Yeah.
And
let me know if you have any
on there.
Yeah, if you have any questions on a course too, let me know because I'd love to help guide you with what I've learned. I've learned so much. I'll tell you one thing, just like you found out with videos, the actual course itself is about 30 or 40% of the work. The rest of it is marketing and then a lot of other things that are, which I know, you're probably prepared for. I do have I did a behind the scenes video on me making a course. So I'll send that to you. It has my whole course process, which might be beneficial for you with how I like start and plan and build the course and how I structure the videos around it and everything. So I'll zip that over to you. Maybe that'll be a good resource for you. It is a long video. It's like a full documentary. I've documented my 10-day journey of creating a course. So maybe that'll be a good resource for you. But yeah, I'd be happy to help you out with any course related stuff. I really appreciate you giving me some insight with some of the YouTube stuff. I'm absolutely going to sign up for AdSense when we're done with this chat.
After the podcast, sign up for AdSense because that's every day you're losing money.
Oh, I'm so mad. It's the same thing like when I used to have clients sign up with hosting and I didn't realize they had an affiliate program. It's like, dang it, I could have made $50,
off topic, which ones do you prefer? What hosting companies do you
I like SiteGround. Now the only problem is I actually don't get affiliate money through SiteGround now because there is a online digital sales tax in Ohio. Now, what's
Oh,
weird though,
really?
none of the other affiliates, I get affiliate money from Divi and some other places and a lot of other plugins I promote, but
Yeah.
SiteGround is not available in Ohio now. So I started making good money with SiteGround. And then unfortunately that happened right when I launched my YouTube channel. So I have no doubt I could have made probably 6 figures by now of SiteGround affiliate money. But yeah, it's not
Wow.
available in Ohio. So I might check with them to see if there's any way to work around that, or even if I need to like set up a PO box in a different state, or I don't know. I need to figure something out. But yeah,
That's
I
so
do
sad,
use.
man.
Oh, believe me, man, it's rough. Yeah, I use and recommend SiteGround. All my stuff and all my client stuff too. I know there's some other good ones out there, but yeah, I basically promote what works for us because I'm not in the same position you are to where I can really have time to investigate a bunch of other tools and platforms. So I just kind of promote what has worked for me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Darryl, man. Thank you so much for a lot of your time. This was a great, long, in-depth chat. Maybe, I'm not sure if this is my longest to date, but I know a lot of people have been loving the long-form content, and this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you being open and transparent. Maybe we'll do a round 2 on like more practical video stuff, because I know we didn't really get to anything
Maybe
like
you can
that
talk
with
about
getting.
something like maybe you can talk about something like Divi. I don't know, Divi products, or I don't know, just WordPress. The WordPress market in general. That's a good one
Yeah.
because although Divi's performing really really well, there's other plugins. There's other plugins that come out like I haven't like well there's Brizzy, but also other plugins like booking plugins or appointment
And
plugins
it's
or something like
interesting.
that.
This podcast, like a lot of my audience, it's about 3/4 Divi users probably, but there are a
Yeah,
lot of my students who use Elementor and other builders. And the cool thing
yeah,
is my courses, unless it's Divi specific, like my web design process course, that can be used for anything. Doesn't matter what builder, or you don't even have to use WordPress. It's not WordPress specific. So it's just
yeah.
the process of web design. So yeah, I've kind of intentionally tried to keep this fairly open ended, but most of my audience is still Divi, which again, it's what I use and what I recommend, so it makes sense. But yeah, I'm kind of getting into the wider WordPress community, particularly with this podcast, which is pretty cool. So yeah, man, I'll definitely consider that though. Hey, do you have like a final thought for anyone who is maybe thinking about getting into video or doing video? Going back to kind of where you were when you started, yeah, like what would you say is kind of like or it doesn't even have to be video. Do you have any sort of final thought for my audience?
A few things. The equipment I use Final Cut Pro. So Final Cut Pro it's only available for Mac. It's definitely the easiest to use. Just grab a Yeti microphone. You can get a Yeti microphone at Best Buy or something like that. I have just like a Logitech 4K camera. I just hook them all up, and I use ScreenFlow to record myself and the screen at the same time. And obviously, I have a green screen in the back. I'm not like a video editor. I just kind of Googled this stuff and learned as I went. And just provide. It's all about quality. The highest is quality, because once your quality is the highest, people are going to have that high expectation of, oh, you're releasing a video, I know it's going to be good. But if you have like that fast video making tendency, you're going to pump out videos. People say, this guy pumped out a video, it's probably junk, it's
Yeah.
probably crap. And it's just, I think the biggest thing too is consistency, because it's very very easy to quit, especially when you get no views. You put out a video, don't get no views, it's depressing. You're like, man, like no one likes me. Like I'm a loser. Like you start to think these things in your head. You start to think that you're no good, you're a loser. And if you're consistent and you work through that, there's a better path past that. And it's all about consistency. It's just keep pushing, keep providing value. Just don't stop. If you think you're providing value, then don't stop. And that's, again, another one is you want to provide the highest quality possible. And again, I've said that you don't want to leave people with questions after your video. So when you watch the video, ask yourself, if I watch this, are they going to have questions after? What did I not cover? What are they going to be upset about? Is there something that I didn't talk about that I should have about this product or this plugin or this theme, etc.? So, but that regards to anything on YouTube, like,
Yeah.
and again, a lot of it's being entertaining too. You're not an entertainer for yourself. And a lot of people get that wrong. They want to entertain themselves. And they're like, oh man, like, this is so fun, man. We're on camera. It's like, no, man, like, this is a business, bro. You're entertaining them. That's why they're watching. You have a duty to entertain them. And I think that's where my channel got hired, because I became more of an entertainer / someone that would talk talk a little bit more outspoken, if I said, "Oh man, this product sucks," most of the people on YouTube don't talk like that. They're like, "Oh, okay," and I think people respected it more because when they're working on plugins or things, they're thinking to themselves, working on it, man, this plugin sucks. And when I say it, they're just like, finally, someone I can relate to.
Yeah, right.
Someone that actually says Visual Composer sucks, like, because a lot of these times, these companies pay a lot of companies to give them high reviews, and it's like, doesn't matter. Don't be scared to voice your opinion. If you think something sucks, and you think the community thinks it sucks too, it's probably okay to say it sucks, regardless of whatever paid reviews they get.
You were just talking about like when you launch something and there's nobody watching a video, or even if you start your own web design business, it's like, I'm not going to get any clients yet. One thing that really helped me, which I think it helped you too, it sounds like, is if something works well for one person, it can work for 10. And if it will work for 10 people, it'll work for 100. If it works for 100, it'll work for 1,000. That's kind of the mindset I had with my teaching, is like, I had that one student who was really interested locally. And I was like, wow, what if I got like 10 people who are really interested? That worked out pretty well. And then once I launched my channel, 100 people were interested. And now I've got thousands of people interested. So can't encourage that enough for people. And you're a prime example of that, just kind of one step at a time. So, well, great, Darryl. Fun chat, man. Awesome to catch up. It's been a while. Awesome to nab you here with our schedules getting
it's been a while.
Lined up.
It's been a while, but I'm glad to be on the show. I'm glad.
Well, happy to have you, man. Yep, looking forward to releasing this to the wild for everybody. And I tell you what, you have a video showing your tools and stuff, right?
I do. It's probably 2 years old, and I might update it, but I use the same tools.
Okay, would you mind sending that over to me? Maybe I can find it on your channel, because I'll post that in the show notes. That way, if people are curious about practical video stuff, I think a round 2 would be good to maybe talk about practical video stuff, but they can at least see that video, because I use some of the same tools. Totally recommend. So I'll link to all that in the show notes. So yeah, man, thanks for your time, Darryl. Keep on doing your thing, man. It's awesome to see where you've come from and what you're doing.
All right. Thanks again, Josh.
All right. Cheers, man. Hey guys and gals, just wanted to pop in with a couple things before you head out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast. I would love to hear your feedback, and it will also help other web designers find the show. Be sure to check out the show notes for this episode. Just go to joshhall.co, click on podcasts, and search this episode number, and you'll find all the links, descriptions, and resources we talked about. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, and you'll be notified when the next episode is live. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.